What's going on, guys? This is Kaishiro, welcome back. So for our video today, we're going to cover top 5 meta decks of September 2023 OCG format. So these are the best decks that you can play on the remainder of the July format before we eclipse towards the October ban list that will happen very soon. So these are the decks that will give you good chances of winning to top your tournaments, and these are the best decks in general to play on this current format post Valiant Smashers that gave plethora of cards towards the format. It introduced the Centurion archetype that is instantly gaining traction recently. So without further ado, let's start. Coming at number 5, we have Labyrinth. So Labyrinth is one of the better control decks to play on the format. This deck is very versatile. It can play a lot of hand traps. You can go toe-to-toe with much more faster decks using your hand traps, and you also have access to powerful trap cards, something like Dimensional Barrier and Ice Dragon Prison and Imperm. Those cards that will help you to outmuscle the other decks on this format using the Labyrinth strategy. Labyrinth is not that much of different from the previous build. They are playing the furniture lineup of cards on the Labyrinth and using extra deck Unchained monsters as well to gain card advantages and snowball out of control using the synergy between Labyrinth and Unchained extra deck because they are fiend monsters on their regard. Sometimes Labyrinth does play the Arias package, which is a very trap build heavy deck list, but I think the most superior or the more superior build is the Furniture Labyrinth, the standard hand trap Labyrinth with a plethora of trap cards. So yeah, I think Labyrinth is still one of the better decks to play on the format, especially if you want to control the tempo of the game. But the problem is still the same. They are very weak to Red Reboot. Red Reboot is very notorious to stop the Labyrinth because they are trap based. The usage of Welcome Labyrinth and Big Welcome Labyrinth will be very mitigated by the Red Reboot. And also Evenly Match is very insane against Labyrinth because Labyrinth relies on setting cards on their back row. So yeah, they don't have pretty much protection against the Evenly Match. So they will be wiped with Evenly Match as their board breaker against Labyrinth. And also, hand trap like Ash Blossom can definitely make Labyrinth struggle because they rely on summoning their big monsters from the deck on their side of the field to control the game. So Ash Blossom is a very good card to answer that. Much like Sanguine of Eldritch, they are easily prone to Ash Blossom. So I think Labyrinth is still one of the better decks to play on the format if you want to try to play more conservatively or safely on that regard, because the higher and more relevant decks on this list are much more targeted by the people on this format because those decks are known for being the best decks on the format. So I think if you want to play safe on the format or play more conservatively, I think you should go for Labyrinth. So at number 5, we have Labyrinth. Moving towards the number 4, we have Purely. So Purely, one of the most successful decks on the format. I already have said that on my previous video. This deck won the Japan Championship 2023 and also won the Duelist Cup main event on the later format recently. So Purely is one of the most dominant and successful decks over the modern Yu-Gi-Oh right now. So I think Purely is a very deserving deck here to be mentioned on this top 5 list despite their fall off from the meta. Because lately there's no Purely that much recently, unlike before where Purely is arguably the best deck on the format. Right now they are falling off and Purely is not that much of a threat right now on the format because of the ban list hit, and also other decks got better with the introduction of Sinful Spoils. The Rescue and TLaments got better from that. So yeah, Purely got a little bit power creep, but it is still a very decent deck. Expurlinor is a very legitimate win condition. The moment you summon Expurlinor is almost game over for most of the decks on the format. I think Purely is one of the decks that has a very good turn 1 play to play on the format right now. So yeah, I think this is still a reliable deck when you consider the fact that you don't have that much outs to Expurlinor except for XYZ Encore and Herald of the Abyss, but I think most players will disregard playing XYZ Encore and the Herald of the Abyss to answer Rescue Ace and TLaments and other decks that are better than Purely. So I think if they lost respect to Purely, they will definitely struggle against Purely, and Purely will shine once more if players will not respect Purely. But on the side note, there's a lot of cards that can counter Purely, like Dimensional Barrier, because Purely is very linear on XYZ summoning mechanic. So Dimensional Barrier is very good against Purely. And also hand traps like Veiler is very phenomenal against Purely. The moment you stop the Purely Lily, is they will struggle from that moment. So yeah, targeting negation hand traps like Veiler, Imperm, those hand traps that can mitigate the effects of the Purely Lily is very strong against the Purely. And also, Drollen Lockbird is one of the most popular cards to answer the combo heavy decks on the format, and also Purely as well. So, Drollen Lockbird is one of the most used side deck cards right now on the format. So, Drollen Lockbird especially can stop Purely because Purely cards for card advantages, adds for card advantages. So, yeah, they will struggle around Drollen Lockbird. But nonetheless, I think Purely is still a solid deck here on this top 5 meta decks on this format. So at number 4, we have Purely. Moving towards the number 4, the newly introduced from the Valiant Smashers, we have Centurion. So Centurion, aka Calamity Turbo. So Calamity is written all over the face of Centurion the moment that players have tested Centurion before the Valiant Smashers. The moment they tested it on Edu Pro and other gaming simulators, Calamity is very predetermined card to be abused using the Centurion. So Centurion is the deck that is a very prominent deck right now in the format, because if you don't have certain outs to Calamity, you will do nothing the moment Calamity have summon on their side of the field. This is a very toxic card. It is like a VFD but better, and also more notorious for stunning and floodgating the game. So yeah, I think Centurion has that advantage of being consistently and persistently summoning Calamity on their field is a very huge threat on the format with the form of Centurion. And Centurion as well is very diverse right now on the format. Players haven't figured out what to play on Centurion. Sometimes they play it with Horus, and sometimes they do play it with Dogmatica. So it's quite diverse feeling right now on the format, because Centurion can incorporate the Horus if they want to be more explosive, if they want to turbo out rank 8 monsters on their field that can give them negations or better chances of going second using the Photon Lord, Harbinger, and sometimes other rank 8 monsters like Resu. So they will opt to go with Horus package. And also if they want to play more conservatively, more in a controlling manner, they can play the Dogmatica engine with just using the Ecclesia and the Fleur de Lis to negate, and also the Dogmatica punishment to control the tempo of the game using the Dogmatica engine. But top players on Japan like Koki Kosaka, the world champion 2019, prefers to play Purely in a pure version. So they just use Purely with more hand traps, more space for hand traps. I think 15 to 17 slots for hand trap, and consistency cards like Desires and Prosperity is what they go for when using Centurion as a pure build. So yeah, it's kinda erratic now to determine what's the best version of Centurion right now, but I think it's up in the air. It will really depend on how the players will adapt and innovate the decklist of Centurion right now. But the most notable thing that can answer Centurion is Ghost Ogre. I think it's one of the better traits of and attributes of Centurion. Their good attribute right now is they are very much have leeway to play around something like Droll. They have leeway to play around Imperm. They have leeway to play around Veiler and Ash Blossom and all of those generic hand traps. But against Ghost Ogre, they will definitely struggle around Ghost Ogre because they need their continuous SNT monsters on their side of the field to be able to resolve so that they can start their plays. So yeah, Ghost Ogre is detrimental against Centurion. And one tech card that I am using against Centurion is Typhoon, because I can single-handedly out using Typhoon those two SN spell and trap monsters on their side of the field using the Typhoon, so that they will be rendered with no resources and follow-ups using the Centurion line of play. So yeah, at number 3 we have Centurion. Moving towards the number 4, we have TLaments. So the good old TLaments is still kicking and alive. I think TLaments will never get out of style or old, because players will keep on innovating and adjusting the TLaments build to make it more competitive and to make it more adaptive on the format. We have seen the inclusions of Cash TLaments. We have seen the inclusion now of Adventure TLaments, which is very popular right now in the format. Some players even side deck Token Collector just to answer the Adventure TLaments. And also the Sinful Spoils TLaments is also very popular right now. Sinful Spoils gives more ceiling towards the TLaments because it gives them extra negation and access to be more consistent using the Jet Synchron. And also the most popular one right now in the format, we have the Visas TLaments, because it can give access to them into something like Chaos Ruler to mill their deck, so that they can gain card advantages if they mill something like Kelbeck and Agido. And also sometimes they opted to play Horus on this TLaments list, because they can summon out the Zombie Vampire rank 8 that can have the similar function like the Chaos Ruler, just to mill their deck for card advantages. The choke points of TLaments is still the same. They're very weak to Bestials, DD Crow, those graveyard banishing monsters, to target and banish their fusion enablers like Shayren, Merly, and Havnis. Those are very detrimental towards the TLaments, because they have few names of TLaments that can fusion summon right now. That's why having Bestials is very rough against TLaments. So yeah, I think it's one of the choke points of TLaments right now, to be able to cancel them out on their fusion summoning mechanic. And also Maxi is very detrimental against TLaments right now, because they are now more of a combo-ish deck than a fusion mid-range deck. So Maxi is very huge against TLaments. The moment you drop Maxi against TLaments, you can draw something like 5 to 8 cards or 10 cards sometimes. So yeah, Maxi is very huge against TLaments. And also, I think TLaments will get even better if the players and the ban list will cater the TLaments, because if other decks like Rescue Ace and Purely will get hit from the ban list, and if they are not precise on hitting TLaments, I think TLaments will still be relevant on the next format on this coming October. So yeah, I think TLaments is an evergreen deck that will never get out of style. Something like Sky Striker and Dragon Ruler from before. So yeah, at number 2 we have TLaments. Moving towards the number 1, we have the Rescue Ace. So Rescue Ace in Full Spoils is the best deck for me right now in the format. Not only is it is the most consistent deck out of all these decks that I have mentioned on this video, I think Rescue Ace has that overall consistency to be able to suffice the longer tournaments, because you are more consistent than other decks and you're very consistent at doing your thing. Even though Rescue Ace is not that really explosive like TLaments and doesn't have a really high ceiling like Centurion, I think Rescue Ace is the best deck in terms of consistency. And consistency for me is the most attribute or thing that you should always consider when going into big tournaments or small tournaments in that matter, because the more consistent you are is the more you can able to do something all of the time. So right now, Rescue Ace in Full Spoils is very divided into something like Synchron line of play. They can summon out Barone, Savage, those negation type of synchro monsters. And they also have the option to go into link summoning mechanics, because some players prefer to play the link summon line of play using the Rescue Ace, so that they can summon the SP Little Knight, because SP Little Knight can protect their turbulence, much like the Proxy F Magician and Madragon fusion from the past. They can use SP Little Knight to banish the turbulence if the opponent will answer the turbulence with something like Veiler or Imperm. they can use the SP Little Knight to banish the Turbulence so that it can dodge the negation hand traps, and it will just return on the next following turn so that they have interruption of SP Little Knight and they can procure their set 4 pass using the Turbulence. So yeah, it's really diverse. If they play Synchron, they have options to negate something like Board Breakers, Lightning Storm, those evenly matched stuff. They are more protected with Synchron line of play, but with Link, they are protected from the popular hand traps like Wailer and Imperm. But you can just pick your poison because Phantasmi is really good against the Link line of play against Rescue Ace, and Nibiru is more devastating against Rescue Ace when they go into the synchro route. So yeah, it really depends on the pilot if what is the best course of action to do using the Rescue Ace. But general countermeasures against Rescue Ace is still the Lightning Storm if they are playing the Link line of play. They don't have Omni Negates to protect their board, which is very good for Lightning Storm to wipe their back row strategy. Lightning Storm is very popular right now in the format, so you need to expect Lightning Storm if you are playing Rescue Ace. And also, Artificial Lancea is the most used side deck card against Rescue Ace right now because Lancea stops their Turbulence from resolving because Turbulence needs to vanish in order to have its effect and snowball for Rescue Ace. So Lancea is very huge against Rescue Ace, a very phenomenal card against Rescue Ace. And also, generic outs to Turbulence are the Ghost Mourner, which can negate the Turbulence, and Imperm, which is very generic to answer the Turbulence because you need to negate the Turbulence in order to stop the Rescue Ace from taking over the game. So, at number 1, we have Rescue Ace in full spoils. So, short recap, we have Labyrinth at number 5. At number 4, we have Purely. At number 3, we have Centurion. At number 2, we have TLaments with different engines and variants. And at number 1, we have Rescue Ace in full spoils. So, thank you for watching this video. I hope you do learn nothing or two. And hit the subscription button if you're not yet subscribed on my YouTube channel. And hit the notification bell if you want to get more updated on my following contents. So, see you on the next one. Peace. Fighting ways to get away.